Good morning.
Good morning.
It's the Morning Hustle with Fort Worth.
And Buddy.
And we are glad you're here. We're going to do it in a little different format today. Feel like, oh God, I just wanted the same thing. Just like when we did the Huberman article where we followed along. Last week I stumbled upon, or I was suggested by YouTube, a trial video.
Yeah.
Where, and I don't know, Buddy has some theories on like why they would, recommend this to me. But I've never watched a trial video before. I'm not that, interested in family drama. But 3.5 hours into this, but 3.5 hours into this bad boy, I look down the comments and everybody else is like, this thing's 4.5 hours long. And I had no intention of watching it.
Yeah.
But it's everything that we talk about.
Yes.
Good and bad. When it comes to women and marriage and behavior and divorce.
Yeah.
And women being attracted to ex-cons. I mean, every stereotypical thing that we talk about that girls generally will deny happen.
And men's biggest fears.
Unfortunately, this is definitely a one day I woke up and my wife was a different person.
Yeah.
Which is a huge fear, especially for guys that have never been married or, they're more gun shy.
Right.
They don't feel like they can recover from that. So we'll get into this. The only thing I can't, and I've reviewed this 2 or 3 times, but it is that's a full day, that's 8 hours of review.
Yeah.
And I'm not being paid for it. So there's a couple of facts on this. Like, I believe their children are like 12, 8, and 4. Like, so we'll be going through this with you at the same time. But stick around. We'll try to crush this thing down to about 60 minutes.
Yeah, we're not going to spend 4 hours on this because we're not those people. But I think it will be fascinating to just pick it apart and share the highlights of what Fort Worth has found. So,
and we'll give you kind of an overview. Lifetime Christian wife, homeschooling the kids, married. They both have a couple businesses of their own, and he works for another company also. She meets ex-con, and within 30 days, she's not in the house anymore.
Wow.
And I finally dug up, she met him like while selling like a barber chair online, like on Facebook Marketplace.
Fascinating.
And he is a barber, so he came looking for it. And then it started picking up steam from there.
Wow.
30 days.
Selling something on
Facebook.
I have something listed on Facebook Marketplace right now. I hope no ex-cons come to get my buffet,
well,
my
we
sideboard.
know how like you like the bad boys.
Clearly.
It'd be like 2 flaming homosexuals show up. They're like, we love your headboard.
We're idiots.
And you're like, this is not what I wanted.
All right. You ready?
Have we lost viewers already? That didn't take long at all.
They're like, oh, these idiots.
They're like, oh, we're out of here. All right, let's begin. Let us begin. It's the judge. We're going to talk about at 1:33. She left the house. This will give you some key testimony and how we kind of began. It's
sorry, he has these marks, but then I have to actually magically find them. Okay, we're starting at 1:20. Sorry, guys.
That's okay. So this is the narrator.
Oh.
If YouTube keeps flagging a divorce video, it must be crazy. And it is. But I had to take it down and edit it a little bit to make it a little more YouTube friendly. A little PG, not even PG-13. It's PG, it's a little G, maybe into the PG range. But don't worry, you still get all the info. You still get all the crazy. It's a roller coaster. I have never seen anything
That's
like this.
life.
Mom is obviously having a midlife crisis and trying to find herself, but in the process, she's losing her children, and that's heartbreaking.
Please, you may ask.
Good morning, Ms. Valdez. Could you please state your full name for the court
Leah Marie Valdez.
and your husband's full name for the court?
Vincent Russell Valdez.
Ms. Valdez, how many minor children do you have together?
We have 3.
And when did you leave the marital residence?
I left the marital residence, I want to say it was August 5th. I know it's in writing. I'm just cloudy on when that exact date is.
Thank you. Can you tell the court why you left the marital residence?
I left the marital residence for my own safety. I was having a discussion with Vincent about how unhappy in the marriage I was. I did not use the word separation or divorce, but I was letting him know just how unhappy I was. And he told me that if I was not going to fight for our marriage, that I had 1 hour to pack and leave. At that point, he left the residence to go pick up pizza for the kids. And he said, and I quote, "You better be gone by the time I get back." I was fearful in my own home. And so for the safety of myself, I packed a bag and I left. I was not too sure when I was going to come back. And so I left that night and came back Sunday and served him with divorce papers.
And where are you residing currently?
I rented a home in Kingston Springs at 318 Maple Street.
Can you tell the court a little bit about what the parenting arrangement has looked like since you left the marital residence?
There have been no hard set days. We planned on that, but because of both of our schedules, it fluctuates and varies based off appointments, work, personal activities. So roughly right now, the kids are spending 3 days with me, 4 days with him, or 4 days with me, 3 days with him, depending on how the week varies.
Do you have the capability to do a shared parenting schedule as to 50-50?
Yes, we do. Subject to his work schedule when he travels, because he's a sales rep, and subject to my work schedule if a special event pops up with the businesses that I own.
Yes, ma'am. And since this arrangement, have you had any major issues between both of you regarding the children?
Not that I know of, no.
And Ms. Valdez, do you have any history of drug abuse whatsoever?
No, ma'am, I do not.
Okay. And do you currently associate with anybody who is currently using drugs?
No, ma'am, I do not.
Okay. And during your parenting time, have your minor children ever been harmed?
No, ma'am.
Bear with me 1 second, Your Honor. And Ms. Valdez, can you tell the court what your gross monthly income looks like?
It varies, but on average, I would say modestly, we're looking at $5,000 to $5,500.
And where does that income come from?
My first business I own is DeValley Commercial Cleaning Service, and that gross is about $2,000 a month. And then the second business that I co-own with my husband is Giggles and Glam Kids Salon. And the profits on that fluctuate month to month, but on average, about $3,500 a month.
Thank you. And what can you tell me about your husband's income?
He is on salary, and so he has a fixed monthly income. And up until 3 to 6 months ago, he was also acquiring bi-yearly, so twice a year bonuses. But I believe that his employer has removed those.
Thank you. And Ms. Valdez, do you think that it is in the best interest of your minor children to maximize their time with both parents?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely.
And so are you asking the court to adopt the temporary parenting plan we have submitted that shows 50-50?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely.
All right, Your Honor, I have nothing further as far as the temporary parenting plan goes.
All right. Are there any other issues that you want to address, or do you want to wait and address any of those issues that Mr. Holly is raising? You also had, I believe, a motion for the extension of the injunction. You want to address that with her now?
Yes, Your Honor, that'd be great. Ms. Valdez, We filed a motion for a ex parte restraining order. To your knowledge, has that restraining order been served on your husband?
Yes, ma'am, it has.
And what did that restraining order tell him to do?
It told him to return the $10,000 that he, to me, unknowingly withdrew from our business account. And I believe that was it, correct?
Has he put the full amount of the funds as ordered by the court back into that account?
No, ma'am. He has returned half, 5,000, but he has yet to return the other 5,000.
And have there been any consequences of him not returning the other 5,000?
Yes, I was not able to pay my employees or my payroll taxes until I was able to secure a $5,000 loan from a family member.
Thank you. And has your husband, you stated earlier your husband was a co-owner of Giggles and Clams with you. What has his extent been in business involvement?
He has come 3 times to the store to bring me iced coffee. He is not involved. He does not know how to run payroll, schedule, order product. He doesn't even know the code to the back door to get into the store.
So she goes on, but finally, we go to about 9 minutes in, and she has to admit to an affair. Because this guy's blind. Like, she's unhappy. She's short with him. She's coming home, not happy.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of like unhappiness. But when in fact she's running this affair behind his back,
Well, and that's what happens a lot of times with affairs when women are the ones who have them, is they are pretty okay. They're kind of going along with the relationship as it is. It's just kind of like a boring old marriage where we all have our place and everybody's running kids around and things like that. Yeah. But the problem is then anything distracts our brains. So this is where the girls' nights out get very dangerous. This is where, who could have predicted that selling something on the equivalent of Craigslist would cause someone to come into her sphere that would turn her light switch on. But all it takes is someone distracting her kind of little hind brain, little girl brain, like I call it. And suddenly she's unhappy. Suddenly she doesn't like her husband anymore. Suddenly, things just are dissatisfactory in her life when she was plugging along a day before.
And this, like Bunny says, this is like the biggest fear most married men have.
Right.
Is one day his wife comes home insane or a different person.
This is an extreme example.
But again, it's a extreme example to show you what's possible.
Right.
But not probable.
Yeah.
At 9, let's hear how she kind of like reveals about the affair to him.
Okay, I do want to say, for those of you coming in and out or whatever, that right now, it's almost comical how the courtroom goes from empty and boring to full to everyone's kind of going, oh my gosh. I mean, this thing takes a hard turn. We kind of have to get through the weeds a little bit and set the stage, but you'll be amazed. Okay, so at 9 minutes.
You're talking about you left for your own safety from the marital residence.
Mm-hmm.
You're having an affair, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. And you admitted to having the affair to Mr. Valdez after it happened.
Mm-hmm.
Is that you have to say yes or
Yes,
no
sir.
to the court reporter, okay? And before that, this summer, you guys were husband and wife. You took a trip or two, day trip with the kids, did the husband and wife thing. Is that accurate?
Regular family things. Yes, sir.
Yeah. When you left the house, you said that, he gave you an hour to get out and then you left for your own safety.
Yes, sir.
And you returned
Sunday.
the next day, right?
2 days later.
2 days later, and you stayed at the house for a week.
After I served him those divorce papers, I said, I'm willing to cohabitate with you while we function through the separation and divorce.
And it wasn't an issue of your safety at that point then, was it?
I left a week later because I did not feel safe anymore because of his volatile emotional state.
When you left that night, you said you left for your own safety. When you initially left, said you had an hour, to get out and all that. Where'd you go that night?
I got a hotel room in Gallatin, Tennessee.
In Gallatin, and you stayed there with your boyfriend?
Yes, he met me there.
Yeah.
And that's when we consummated our relationship, was that night.
I'm sorry?
That's when we consummated our relationship, was that night.
Okay, so you had sexual relations with him that night
Yes, sir.
and that weekend and came back to Mr. Valdez on Sunday, correct?
Yes, sir.
So the name of the person you're having an affair with is whom?
Christopher Draper.
Christopher Draper. And how did you meet Mr. Draper?
I met him through Facebook Marketplace when I was selling a salon chair from Giggles and Glam.
Continue on. She basically left the house a couple of times.
Yeah.
And her testimony is, he told me to get the hell out. You've got 1 hour, pack your bag. But this will come up a little bit later. We're going to skip to meeting the boyfriend, 1053.
Okay.
1053,
Okay.
the boyfriend who is a convicted felon. I think he's done 3 years for nonviolent crimes. They call him to the stand. Her attorney does.
I met him through Facebook Marketplace when I was selling a salon chair from Giggles and Glam.
Yeah.
You're right.
And
That was July 17th.
you talked about, going to the motel room with Mr. Draper. How did you pay for that?
I paid for that with my own personal Kroger credit card.
Okay.
So the
And you
second-
didn't put that on the business?
The second time they hooked up, she used the business card. So basically, it's the husband's money paying for this guy to have sex with his wife,
Right.
which is not, okay.
But she sees it as their money.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
it's their business.
Go to 104.41.
Oh, we're
So
jumping.
we'll go, we're
an
going to
hour.
jump forward. Yeah. It says, no. Should be 1.
0441.
Let's try that.
Okay.
Let's see if he's on the stand.
Oh.
Dennis, could you raise your right hand and place it in the room?
Swear or
Oh.
affirm that the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
This is not his first time in court.
No.
Mr. Wilden, could you please state your full name for the court?
Christopher Ryan Wilden.
And I just want to add that these notations on the screen are not ours. This is not us. So this is the girl who's doing the commentary for this YouTube video.
We're going to
Mr. Wilden,
allow this good old boy to
what
introduce
can you
himself.
tell the court about your criminal history?
It started when I was about 19 years old, and it ended about 6 years ago, 6 or 7 years ago. Petty thefts, possession of marijuana, possession of paraphernalia, controlled substance. So it's all drug related.
And how long have you been sober for now?
5 years.
From which substances?
The only thing I do is drink alcohol. So, you're talking opiates, methamphetamines, Adderall. I haven't taken anything besides ibuprofen.
And what kind of program did you go through once you were released from prison?
So part of my agreement when I came out of jail, because this last time I finally decided to change, I went through Indiana and cleared up all my charges up there, cleared my charges down here. And on my last charge, I was going to be sentenced to do 3 years. I'd never asked for drug court or any type of rehabilitation, never been in any or anything. And, my real goal was to give back to my daughter. So I went through a drug court program, Sumner County Drug Court. It's one of the top in the nation. There's other drug courts that fly them out to teach them how to run a drug court. I don't know the exact numbers, but they're over triple the national standard of success rate. So what happened was I got out. When I first got out, I had 3 drug tests a week. I had 5 meetings I had to hit a week. I had a therapist 2 past years, and I mean, it was class after class after class after, family classes. It was MRT classes. It was, I did it all. Journey to Freedom class.
He goes through his rehabilitation, and now he's clean, other than being drunk 3 to 4 nights a week.
Oh my.
111.
Well, and I mean, let's talk a little bit about this guy. Like, Balancer was asking, what is it about this guy that turns women on? And we talk about this a lot. Women love dangerous men, whether you're going to hurt us or not. We love men who we know could. It's just maybe it's the protective mentality. If we can be kind of excited and afraid, then we know that we'll also be protected. He'll, go off on some guy trying to hurt us or whatever the case may be. But there's something so sexy, especially when you're in a boring marriage that has become humdrum. And this is why I always tell people, never stop dating your wife. Never stop fucking your wife. Never prioritize, family, kids over your wife, short of blood, fire, broken bones. There are always exceptions. There are emergencies that come up. But for the most part, you and your wife have to stay a major part of the relationship. You guys are where it starts, and everything else goes out from that. So if you prioritize your relationship, this kind of stuff doesn't happen as often because you guys are hot and heavy for each other. You've got a great relationship. You don't have a whole shit ton of problems because you've stayed engaged with one another. I'm not saying it's easy, but it takes as much work to stay engaged in a great relationship as it does to have to start over on the next one.
And this, to background, the husband was homeschooled. He's like one of 8. He's the oldest of like 8 kids.
Yeah.
And he was homeschooled his entire life. They both met like at a Bible college.
Okay.
Like so they don't just come from like a normal, it's a bigger swing even.
Right.
But that's part of, and here's the deal, is like, why are marriages boring? Because children need structure.
Yeah.
And they need boring so they can have routine.
Yeah.
And that's where they were. They were in a, as expected, routine lifestyle.
Yeah.
Where things can be predicted because children need reliability and routine and boring.
Yeah.
Because if you want something unpredictable, get an infant. That's unpredictable. Women like drama, and there's nothing more dramatic than a newborn.
Yeah.
So children keep women busy. And this woman was in every facet, your classic fundamental religious, and good or bad, however you look at it, but homeschooling the kids.
Yeah.
Running her own business so she could actually stay home and run, take care of the kids while he runs a business and works for other people. And this is a normal life.
Yeah.
This is 90% of your population.
Yeah.
And then something pops up. These aren't like, she wasn't watching Housewives of Beverly Hills or anything.
Right.
This is pretty predictable living.
Yeah. All right. 111.
111. We'll talk a little bit more about the drug use, because you're talking about a woman who, I don't think she was drinking. She had never drank before.
Right.
Yeah. There's all kinds of 180s here.
There's all kinds.
Did you reimburse her for that?
Anything that we've ever done together, I give her money for, reimburse her, yes.
Did
The
she,
hotel, I don't think I paid for anything on the hotel because that was something that she had to have a place to stay anyways. So
did my client help you purchase a motorcycle?
yeah.
Okay, and to your knowledge, was that used from the business account, those expenses?
No.
I don't have anything further, Your Honor.
Bought that old boy a motorcycle.
Holly, you may cross-examine.
Let's go to the boyfriend is working in the business, make no mistake. And then we'll go to 124. And Dad's going to get up on the stand finally and kind of like give his piece.
Oh, the husband?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Then it's Dad's turn, who is, I think, handling this magnificently. Just not good, not great. Just he hasn't shot anybody, which I think is pretty
Good
impressive.
point.
You know,
Good
the
point.
fact that he hasn't actually killed somebody with a gun or with his bare hands or with a car
Yeah.
is amazing. You
So
know?
this is the husband that's about to take the stand.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
You are Vincent Valdez, correct?
Yes.
You're married to Mrs. Valdez over here, correct?
Yes.
How long have you been married?
About 11 and a half years. It'll be 12 years in January.
Did you want this divorce and the separation?
No.
Did you make that plain to her?
Yes.
How so?
That's one of the reasons I think Leah left that week. It's just because every day I was trying to talk to her, and me and Leah's history is very religious. We met at Bible college. She was in the mission field, beginning of our relationship. I played for a worship leader. We were both in ministry at different times. I say that to.
I just want to point out, he was a worship leader. So he was on the stage. He was in front of everyone. He was the man that everyone was looking at. He was exciting.
Very interesting.
You know, she was drawn to him in a similar but different way, but very parallel. We always say the best way to get a lot of girls after you is to be the man at the front of the room.
Say, after I found out about the affair, I asked her if she would be willing to give Jesus a chance in our marriage, because I know that God can heal marriages, and she said no. And I did numerous things that week to try to get her to see that it's best for our family to stay together, because Leah was a good mother. She is right when she says that she was a good mother, but her actions lately have been manic and completely upside down. Like, I don't even recognize the person that I see.
So you're testifying, you feel like there's some sort of transformation with her right now?
Yes. I mean, it's whether it's mental, spiritual, or everything. I mean, you can ask employees, people who know her, who have distanced themselves from her, the way she talks. Leah, I think I can count on one hand how many times Leah cussed our entire marriage. And the person I see now is a completely different person. That's why I'm concerned about my children. That's why I'm concerned about them being there.
How old are you?
I am 34.
How old is she?
35.
What's your current address?
1004 Sycamore Ridge East,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Burns, Tennessee, 37029.
And how long have you lived there?
About
Okay, so we've established that this is a pretty normal, fundamental Christian marriage.
Yeah.
We're going to skip to, let's see where mom is mentally now, 128:34. And this is a recording of a phone call.
Oh.
How the fuck would the business go under when I am running it the same as I always have been? You obtuse motherfucker. Do you understand me? If you want to start a fucking war with me, start a war with me, Vince. I can contact Donna today. I can get a restraining order against you today. You will never see the kids again. I will tell them how mentally and emotionally abusive you've been, how I feared for my life when I was living in the house with you, and that's why I got a rental so soon. You will never see the kids again. I will take alimony from you. I will take $900 a month in child support away from you. I will also take your retirement account in order to support myself. So if you want to run this shit, run it. If you want to start a war, start it. Because I swear to fucking God, Vince, I have been very patient with you. I have been very kind with you. But if you are going to leverage the business that I fucking built and that I know how to run, and you know two shits about running it, do it, Vince. I'm giving you an hour to redeposit that money. And if you do not fucking redeposit that money, I'm calling into the cops. I'm putting a restraining order on you, and I'm calling Donna and telling her to redraft the MDA where I get 100% custody of the kids. And I swear to you, Vince, if there is a restraining order on file against you where I have felt unsafe for my life and threatened by you, which I do, you will never see the fucking kids again. You can move to Texas all you want at that point. because you will never get them again. Do you understand me? I will move heaven and earth to take you down in this divorce if this is the shit you decide to play. You have 1 hour to deposit that money, or I swear to fucking God, Vince, I'm calling the cops and telling them how unsafe I feel around you and how mentally and emotionally abusive you've been and how you pushed me up against the wall in the bathroom my last day in that house, and I had to tell you to get off me 3 times. Do you want to be arrested in front of your kids, Vince? Because that I can make that happen. Watch me.
That's it. 30 days ago, he had never heard her cuss maybe 5 times,
Right.
and she was a homeschooling mom.
Yeah.
That's every man's fear right there.
Yeah.
Now he's in court with this absolute maniac.
Yeah.
You know, and this is what's going on. And this guy is very smart to have recorded these conversations.
Oh,
Other than
yeah.
It would have just been his word and her word, and it would have not had nearly the impact.
Yeah.
Let's go to 131. I had being served papers.
You want to set
And
it
the
up?
kids, yeah, 131, 15.
Uh-huh.
Get it.
Oh, you didn't want to set it up?
I'm not sure what it is. That's my only notice.
Okay.
And when I asked her, she did tell me she was having an affair. And then by that Saturday, she had moved out.
You know, she's saying you gave her like an hour to get out and
Yeah,
all that kind of stuff. Can you explain to the court your side of that story?
Yeah, our account of that is a lot different than the week I got back. Well, let's just say my best friend from Bible school had just taken his life, so I went down to Dallas for the funeral for that. The week I got back, I noticed that Leah was kind of cold to me, and we were getting into small tiffs, but she wasn't talking to me. That Friday, she had told me she wasn't in love with me anymore, and I was completely blindsided. Leah's always had a very high, strong value for marriage and family. And I also didn't know she was having an affair, but I said, well, I was like, well, I want to fight for our marriage. We have a lot to fight for. Do you want to fight for our marriage? And she said, I don't know. At the time, I had a lot of trust in my mother-in-law. So I said, I think it's best then for you to go to your mom's house until you figure out if you want to fight for our marriage. If you will go there, she will ask you, is he abusing you? Is he cheating on you? And the answers are no. And she'll tell you to come back and we will work this out. And I said, I'm going to go get dinner. I think it'd be best for you to go to your mom's house when I get back. I did not want her to leave permanently. I wanted to, I did not know about the affair. I was trying to just wake her up because this doesn't seem like the person I married. But she did come back Sunday, and then she stayed again until that Saturday, and that's when she left. And that was against my wishes. I didn't want her to leave.
Did you threaten her or do anything physical to her during that time frame? What's she talking about there?
Not our accounts again are different on that. What happened when it comes to that bathroom thing. Leah had been coming for a week and just cook. She would cook and leave. And then on a Friday, she came and cooked and stayed and ate with us. And at the time, I still wanted reconciliation on our marriage, even though she was having an affair. We were joking with each other. She was laughing. We went to the bathroom. She was putting something away. And I was making her laugh. And I made a move to give her a hug, a kiss, whatever she would let me do. And she put her hand up and said, no. Our daughter was not standing right behind us. She was not looking at us. She was in the next room on an iPad, but she was not behind us. And when she said no, I said, I'm sorry. I said, I don't want to push you away. And I said, are we okay? Actually, I asked her, I think twice. I was like, are we okay? And she's like, yeah, we're okay. 20 minutes go by. I'm playing with the kids. And she goes out and gets on the phone. I assumed it was her boyfriend, and now I know it is. As soon as she came in, completely different person, yelling at me, saying she's never coming back. And, that's my account of that story.
And at that point, she left?
Yes.
And now, instead of her mother's, where do we know she went?
Well, she was still sleeping at her new house. But I have never been physical with Leah in any way. I've never been violent towards her or sexually forceful towards her at any point. Again, our story is not this today. Me and Leah waited till marriage to have sex. Like our lives is not this. And the person that is here today is not the person that I've known for the last 15 years.
Is that a concern for her around your children right now?
Yes. I mean, the fact that she's letting a guy who just said he's willing to take more mushrooms around our children is extremely concerning. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I've never smoked weed. I'll take a drug test right now if you want me to. I do not want my kids around that man. I don't, and as long as Leah is going to live this lifestyle, I am going to fight for as much custody of those kids as I can.
Where's that $10,000 at? I mean, you said you gave 5 back. Where's the other 5?
It's back. It's actually there. Got there this morning.
Based on the restraining order, sent that 5,000 back, correct?
Yes.
And what was your position on this whole $10,000 to begin?
Well, I actually meant to take 5,000. I initiated a withdrawal from Venmo and it didn't work. And then so I used my bank and they both went through. I sent a text to Leah. I have the screenshots for that saying, hey, I accidentally took 10,000. I'm sending 5,000 back. The next day she still filed for 10,000 saying that I took 10,000, but I did return 5,000. The only reason for that money is to establish that business.
It'll follow up. The kids are homeschooled. Now they're going to public school, which is like whiplash for children.
Wow.
And the ex-wife or wife has been loaning the boyfriend money from their joint account,
Yeah.
from their business account.
But let's talk about some of what he just talked about. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's a lot. So Cheetown says he's a weak man, either never had frame or death by 1,000 cuts. And I feel like that's where the fundamental Christian aspect of this relationship really, really, really comes into play, because he didn't need frame in a lot of ways. I mean, make no mistake, a man needs to be the head of the household. All of these things that really do equal frame in the way that we use it.
Buddy, correct me if I'm wrong, okay? Like when you come from that fundamental background, a lot of this it's like coming from money. There's a framework of your family that's already established.
Right.
This is how we do things.
Right.
So you don't know or even need to know the things that we know.
Yeah.
You know, why would he even, and I truly believe this guy, the idea of her having an affair hadn't crossed that man's mind.
Right.
I mean, that would be the first thing on guys in our world.
Yeah.
We kind of know. But for them, they don't need any of this knowledge.
Right.
And the family is the structure.
Yeah.
You know, and again, just like he said, he would send her home to her mom.
Yeah.
Her mom, peer pressure, social pressure,
Yeah.
would say, is he beating you? No. Is he abusive? No. You need to go back and fix your marriage.
Yeah.
Which is why people stay together.
Yeah.
You know, but she's objected to all
And
this.
those mentor women will say, you need to pray for your husband.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, you need to get back in there and you need to rededicate yourself to your marriage, because you don't need to be going anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. And no one has supported this woman's decision. No one except maybe her and her boyfriend.
Right.
You know, and you'll see down the road that this isn't going to go well for anyone.
Which is also why instead of going to her mother's house where she knew what she was going to
That's a
get,
good point.
she went to a hotel and met up with her boyfriend.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You know, but I mean, a lot of this is, you know, and even when he says that he's never been sexually aggressive with her and things like that, you know, for us, that's kind of like, oh, that's a shame, you know, because that would have been hot and exciting. But again, like you're saying, it's unnecessary.
It's unnecessary. And again, and one thing that's come out of like the Christian fundamentalists is they unfortunately, well, you know, there's a lot of like shame about sex.
Right.
Don't have sex. Don't think about sex. Don't just avoid it.
Yeah. It's for procreation.
Then they're married. So in 24 hours, they're supposed to flip it. So, and become sexually aggressive or sexually open and, you know, please their husband with no skills and no background. So there's a lot of like friction.
Yeah.
You know, and they see things a little bit different.
Right.
You know, but again, the pressures that hold that marriage together come from a number of different directions. So the man doesn't need as much as we know in our
frame.
world. Yeah, the frame and structure, and he doesn't need to know game either. He just
Right.
But these men are tend to be naturally charismatic due to being in front of people,
Yeah.
being leaders, and then work with a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know, so most, like Bunny pointed out, which I didn't catch the first time around, he was at the front of the room when he caught her eye.
Right.
You know, and now she's still looking for an exciting guy.
Yeah.
So.
And make no mistake, I mean, she's, according to all of that we've seen so far, she is avoiding anyone who would speak truth into her life.
That's a very good point.
She's actively, she knows who to avoid. She knows who not to speak to. She knows who not to go to with her problems, because every one of the people in her social or family circle is going to say, get back into your marriage, go back to your husband, quit this nonsense.
She's actively avoiding any accountability.
Yeah.
Or responsibility. We'll go to 210.
Okay.
Now, this judge, make no mistake, this judge is 4 times as smart as anyone else in that room.
Oh, yeah.
This man has seen it all. He's experienced it all. And he's going to be trying to, in a subtle way, because he can't instruct, but he can guide how Mr. Valdez should see this.
Fascinating.
You know?
Yeah.
I think that's.
She just filed.
I hope I got it right.
All right. Have since your wife moved out of the marital residence, have your children been harmed in any way physically?
No.
Okay.
Not that I know of anyway.
Since she's moved out, I mean, we've seen one video of your child crying. Does your child cry every single night?
No, it doesn't cry every single night. I think it's pretty common knowledge that divorce causes trauma to children, even if they're not crying every night.
Right. So you're saying that this is not unique for children to be upset about a divorce?
No, it's not unique. I think that this divorce is unique. I don't think it's normal. I wouldn't say it's normal to be having an affair with a felon, and the father to be concerned about that.
But your child was not crying about the affair with the felon, right? They were just crying that you guys are getting divorced.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right, Judge, I have nothing further.
Well,
Let's go to 225.
Let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
Let's take Mr. Wilding out of the scenario. You said she was the primary caregiver and she was a pretty good mother during the time you and she were married. Take Mr. Wilding out of the situation. What concerns do you have about her being able to take care of the children?
That is the majority of the concern. I mean, the behavior change is also concerning, but I do think most of that comes with her connection with Mr. Wilden. Like I said, Leah's whole personality, everything about her has changed in the last month and a half. You know,
how old are you?
I'm 34.
And are you the same person you were when you were 18?
I'm not, but it's a drastic change in such a short amount of time.
Well, trust me, when you get to be my age, that you're not the same person you were when you were your age right now. That life is full of changes, and sometimes people stay the course and they continue on in the same situation, even though they may change. Other times they change because something becomes more important than others.
Yeah, I think that's happened. I think that her relationship with Mr. Wilden has become more important than other things.
All right. Anything further?
So you said, Ms. Tees talked to you about the children not being harmed. Is it fair to say they're not harmed? There's not been any neglect? Because they spent in the last...
What the judge is conveying is this mom, even if the boyfriend's out of the picture, will never be the same.
Yeah.
You know, which I think is revealing. You know, I wouldn't have thought that either. You know, I mean, I would have been like, more like the husband thinks is get the convict out of the picture and I can get my wife back.
Right.
And what the judge is conveying is this girl's made a turn, and that's a permanent turn.
Right.
Whether the boyfriend's there or not, she's not going to be who was. And, you know, and like the judge says, it's not the court or his judgment, you know, should she decide to change her life. It's not against the law. Let's see what at 225 it says.
225.
My note is judge states that people want to make a change.
225 and what?
Just flat 225.
Okay. This is really good. I mean, this is a lot to pick through, but I hope you guys are enjoying this as much as we are.
Wants to deviate from the closely held religious beliefs that Mr. Valdez may think that she's required to have or that would be appropriate for her, I don't have a problem with that. My only concern is about the decision process that is being made, and I'll address that in a moment. In deciding who is going to be the primary residential parent, I'm required to look at the factors that are set forth even on a temporary basis under 36.6.106 of the Tennessee Code. Those factors include the strength, nature, and stability of the child's relationship with each parent, including whether.
So I'll summarize what, and the judge goes through about 11 points that he has to, he walks you through his decision. And basically it's 50-50 shared custody. I think part of their order is that the boyfriend can't have contact with the kids at all. And I'm not sure about the child support, but it's irrelevant.
Yeah.
The husband is going to move these kids to Texas. That's where his family is. Her family is here. His family of 8 siblings and his parents are in Texas.
And so where are they?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But it's not where he's at, so
Yeah.
that's, and I know that gets approved, but they're going to give this thing a year. Like they're going to stay right where they're at for the first year.
Wow.
At least that's the initial plan.
Oh my.
And so we'll get to at 2:45. There's an emergency order. They come back into court by Zoom. Mom's discussing suicide. Her mom has written a letter to the husband supporting him and questioning her behavior. And the boyfriend is still around the children.
Oh my.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, Ms. Smith and I resolved Ben versus Vincent.
Hold on. That's still. It's still like a 2 minutes out from where you wanted me to be, but for whatever reason.
We appreciate you guys working with us on this.
It's so fun.
And we hope it makes sense. And I hope we've got a decent narrative here.
Based on some of the things that were going on, if you remember, you gave Mrs. Valdez total control of the business. And I think our window for being able to salvage anything there is gone. So I don't have any problem necessarily with the business going to mediation and taking that aspect. Unfortunately, with the kids, it's a little different story. If you'll remember with the ex parte petition motion that I filed, what I attached to that were a couple of things. One was a note from the mother that concerned my client because she was discussing suicide with the children. She's got visitation with these children, and it was, I believe, overwhelming. I attached that to the motion. The other thing, we got numerous letters from the family of Mrs. Valdez, who were once in her corner, that including her own mother, that are very concerned about the children being with her at this point with her mental state. I've spoken with Ms. Tees about.
I just want to point out that anytime a family feels that their daughter is no longer equipped to care for her children, that is huge. That's another reason that we always say, like in dating single moms and such, it's a huge red flag if they don't have primary custody of their children or don't get to see their children frequently.
You can even say it's the red flag.
It's massive. It's massive anytime that this kind of thing happens where the mother is not equipped to be a mother, because that is at our fundamental core, that is what women were most designed for, is to create and bear and care for, raise children. So that is huge. I don't want that to go unnoticed.
It's almost like her guidance system is broken.
Yeah.
I mean, if a woman has lost custody of her kids, she's done something at some point, and it's been proven beyond the shadow of a doubt that she's taken action that would be harmful.
And make no mistake, remember that at the beginning when we were first introduced to the boyfriend, he said that he hasn't seen his child in years, that's his primary goal is to get to see his child again. I think he said his daughter. So she's living a great life, childless, having all the fun and thinking in her brain about how much kids in the picture keep her from getting to do what she wants to do, which is ride motorcycle with this boyfriend, go get tattoos and you know, crazy hair colors, whatever the case may be. She's living it up because she's not taking care of her children in the way that she should be.
That's a damn good point.
Yeah.
That's why I brought Bunny in. Bring in the big guns.
Oh,
This is pretty good
Also,
stuff.
there's going to be some evidence that fairly compelling that Mr. Draper, the boyfriend, has been around the minor children. I just can't very well say it's okay to reset all of that. I still am setting it on the court's desk as a, you know, potential ex parte signature for those things. And I would just like to have the first available date that we could get to be able to put a little evidence before the court. And you already have most all of it there with the letter from Ms. Valdez and Ms. Valdez's family. And to put a little bit of evidence on and see what the court wants to do there. It's always concerning when we have these mental health issues, you know, surrounding the someone that does have the visitation with the children. And that's
So
kind of
what
she
they're
was
going to try
discussing.
to do is set the date for this emergency hearing.
oh.
But it lays down the background of like what's going on right here.
250, 42.
250-46, baby.
Okay, you ready?
Thank you.
This is a
Thank
contempt.
you, Judge.
A contempt.
Ms. Valdez, do you have an attorney?
I cannot afford one now.
I'm sorry.
I cannot
She's lost her
afford one now.
attorney.
She
She's
can't?
losing her. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
She's losing her support system because if you notice, like right now she's on her own.
Yeah.
He's not in court. The boyfriend's not in court. He probably doesn't want to go anywhere near a criminal defense, you know,
Yeah.
or a courthouse or a jail. He'll get sucked back in. But she's on her own.
Well, and make no mistake, the husband has a full-time job working for someone else. Plus, they had multiple businesses together that they shared. It's hard to have successful businesses that you share when you are no longer together. They're not working well together. One of them's trying to do everything, you know. So women will often in situations where they're family businesses, they'll think, "Oh, I'll just run that business." And like nothing else will change, and like it will go as smoothly as it always did, forgetting how much he did for the business or neglecting to remember, and how much just that team atmosphere kept the ball rolling. A lot of times family businesses will fall by the wayside very quickly because one person in the family drops the ball.
And it's one thing that we know from both of us owning businesses and having employees is employees look for stability.
Yeah.
Even any rumor, and this is obviously a smaller town, they know what's going on. She's been losing employees
Yeah.
because they've been contacting him, you know, because of her erratic behavior.
Yeah.
Well, girls will stick at a job that doesn't pay that well and it doesn't have good hours if they like the people they work with.
Right.
But as soon as you start injecting some drama or some weirdness,
Yeah.
they're out of there.
Yeah.
Because it's not fun anymore and they can get the same money at someplace more reliable and, you know, consistent, and that they know that it's not going to be drama when they show up to work.
And working especially for an erratic woman
Woo!
is not good for anyone. Okay. So I just wanted to say that because she cannot afford an attorney. She doesn't have anyone on her side any longer.
Put that microphone over there on her desk and turn it on, please.
So in this, what they're going to roll up to at this point is the husband did a welfare check or had a police officer go out to do a welfare check on the wife. And I can't remember if she had the kids. She did have the kids. She had the kids at that time. And the boyfriend's not supposed to be around.
Oh.
Okay. He's not supposed to be on property when the kids are on property. That's part of their agreement for 1 year.
Yeah.
They're kind of like, let's see if this thing goes. So the officer is going to come up and testify.
Wow.
At
So-
2:57. Yeah, this is just like
Just
they're
showing
setting it up.
Okay.
Yeah,
257. Any
18, baby.
perfect.
Okay. Thank you. What happens when we hurry up and subpoena folks?
They're going to establish her bona fides.
If you would state your name for the court, please.
Tiffany Resendes.
Now, you move that microphone away from you. I'm going to ask you to move it towards you because
I'm loud, so that's why I did
all right.
that.
You can be as loud as you want to be, just don't be soft.
And Mr. Zendes, where are you employed?
I'm sorry,
Where are you employed?
the town of Kingston Springs Police Department.
All right, and how long have you been working there?
May will be 4 years.
Okay. And in your 4 years working with the police department, have you had opportunities to go out on domestic calls?
Many.
What would you say your experience would be in handling domestic calls?
And I will say, because I'm a daughter of a police officer, that domestic calls are the most dangerous things that a police officer can be called out on, because they are so volatile. There are so many unknowns, and you never know what you're walking up to.
Mm-mm.
They're just a dangerous thing to do.
Going to people's houses for, issues that you're called out on domestic.
Very experienced.
Okay. Was this your first job with Kingston City?
No.
Okay. Where did you work before that?
Ashland City Police Department.
Okay. How many years have you been in law enforcement?
Since 2019.
So in your duties as the Kingston Springs Police Department, did you have an opportunity to go to 318, I believe it is Maple Street in Kingston Springs?
Yes.
And that would be the home, as you know it, of Miss Leah Valdez, is that correct?
Yes.
And you went there on February, I believe it is 16th and 17th, that Friday and Saturday, is that accurate?
Yes.
And can you describe to the court, what kind of call you got that brought you out there?
Sure. Mr. Valdez had called the Cheatham County Dispatch Center on both of those dates, asking for a welfare check to be completed on his 3 minor children. I was dispatched to the 318 Maple Street to see if I could make contact with anybody there. The Friday night I went out there. It's standard procedure that when we go there, we log any vehicles that are parked in front of the address. I did go ahead and make note of the 2 vehicles that were parked in front of the address. One came back registered to Ms. Valdez. One came back registered to somebody that was not either your client or Ms. Valdez. It was a van that was registered out of Indiana. I went up to the residence, knocked on the door several times, no answer. I did not hear any voices, juveniles or otherwise. There was a hallway light on that you could see through the glass window in the front door. No contact was made. I advised dispatch no contact was made, and I went back in service. I gave Mr. Valdez a public service afterwards to advise him that no contact was made. The second welfare check that I did the night after, same circumstances, logged the 2 same vehicles. They were parked in the same positions as they were the night before. This time, when I approached the front porch area, an immediate odor of what seemed to be marijuana, which was very strong, was immediately noticed upon entering the porch area. I did note a male and female voice that I could hear. It didn't sound like it was coming from inside the residence. It kind of sounded like it was coming from either a back porch or maybe a basement area. I stood there for a couple of seconds to see if I could hear what they were saying, but you could not hear what they were saying. No juvenile voices were noted. I knocked on the door several times, no answer. Knocked on the door again, louder, no answer. Again, louder with my quote unquote mommy knock. No answer again. I called dispatch at that time and specifically requested that they make a special note in the CAD, which is our CAD report that dispatch does, to make a note that the odor of marijuana, or what seemed to be marijuana, was specifically strong when I entered the porch area, and that no contact was made.
And could you describe kindly how you knocked during those occasions?
Do you want me to knock, or do you?
Well, you talked about a certain type of knock. Can you describe it? Eventually, how loud did you knock?
Sure. So the second time that I went there, when I heard the voices, there is a storm door that has a storm window, top and bottom. The storm door was not closed all the way. So I eventually, when I first knocked, it was just a regular knock. Then I noticed that the storm door was open, so I opened the storm door. When I knocked on the regular door, I knocked a regular knock because I didn't want to wake the children if they were sleeping. It was around 11:30 at night, and I know that they're juveniles, so if somebody's in the house and I don't need to wake the children, I'm not going to. Noting that I had heard male and female adult voice, I knocked harder, and it wasn't a knock to where, hey, I'm going to enter the house, but it was definitely a knock to let somebody know, hey, I'm here. But no contact was made.
In your opinion, professional opinion, was there any way that someone could have been in the house and not heard that loud knock?
The only way that I would think that I hear it is in the house if they were in maybe a basement and all doors were closed and music was playing. But if they were reasonably around the same area as the front door, they would have heard the knock, only because I did not hear any music and I could hear the voices.
Okay. Judge, if I could borrow the screen just for a moment, I have a photograph I'd like to put up there. I'm already plugged in.
And jump to 30842. So what will come next is a police officer and his wife live across the street from this rental home so there's a lot of hearsay here. It's not really like admissible other than the picture of the house. But basically the ex-wife, the mom, had come across to the police officer's wife and asked her if she would like watch the kids. And the woman goes, I don't even know you. I cannot watch your children, So, and the husband will get up in a few minutes and go, you have to understand, we're like a no sleepover family.
Right.
Like we're super protected.
That's what I was just thinking as you said that.
Yeah. So the next 5 minutes of the officer's testimony, there's a lot of like, from what the neighbor has observed,
Fascinating. Yeah. Because even if they allow sleepovers, that kind of mindset is very much like the June Cleaver version, where it's like, no, you're not spending the night with Bobby. I don't know Bobby's family, So you wouldn't have just gone across the street or gone to some random neighbor that you don't know, that you're not deeply familiar with,
No.
you haven't shared life with, and ask them to watch your children.
So at 308, we're going to go to the dad's coming up testimony, and
Yeah.
he's going to play another recording. Lord, this woman just keeps digging her own hole.
Yeah.
No, sir, Your Honor.
And thank you, officer. You may stand down and you're released from your subpoena. You may go, I assume you may go home and go to bed.
Thank you, Judge.
The joys of night shift.
Yeah.
Mr. Holly, you may call your.
And for the record, you're Vincent Russell Valdez, is that correct?
Yes.
And you are recently divorced from Leah Valdez, correct?
Yes.
And that divorce was finalized by this court on the 15th day of February of this year, correct?
Yes.
And you have 3 children, correct?
Yes.
And for the record again, what ages are the children?
2, 6, and 8.
And in your divorce decree, was there to be any contact with Christopher Wilder?
No, there was Leah signed that there would be a no contact with Christopher Wilden or Christopher Draper. I think he has a third name now too, though.
And the divorce decree that we submitted to the court was an agreed divorce decree, correct?
Yes.
It's something that the two of you came together in mediation and agreed to, correct?
Yes.
And both of you signed same and presented to the court, and the court has approved it, correct?
Yes.
And the no contact with Mr. Wilden was actually carried over from a hearing where the judge ordered no contact. Is that correct?
Yes, Judge Wolf.
And based on that, when was the first visitation for your ex-wife?
After the 15th?
Mhm.
It was the following day, the 16th. In our divorce decree, I have me and the children are moving down to Texas to be around family, be around a support system. Now that I have primary custody of the kids, and until I move to Texas, Leah has every other weekend with them, and then every other Wednesday that she doesn't have that weekend. So that was she was going to have them on the 16th through the Sunday after.
Okay. And on Friday the 16th, let's start there. Did you have some concerns about Mr. Wilden being at the home?
Yes.
Where did they generate from? And you can't say what somebody told you, but as far as what your concerns were, you can testify to that, and basically how you knew.
Well, it was from two main concerns. One was my oldest son. He described hearing them have sex, and then the other was from a neighbor that reached out to me on social media to let me know kind of what was going on.
And what was the name of that neighbor?
Lindsay, I forgot her last name. Palazzi or Plipsy or something like that.
Okay. And did you attempt to subpoena Ms. Palazzi, I'll pronounce it that way, today?
Yes.
Okay. Did you ever provide her through email with a Zoom link?
Yes.
Have you had communications with Ms. Palazzi about the court hearing today and the subpoena?
Yes.
And what has she told you about appearing today?
That she was out of town and that she's really doesn't want to get her name involved because she lives across the street from Leah, and she's concerned about getting harassed by Leah and her boyfriend.
She did tell you she was out of town today, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And in the course of that, has she sent you, or have y'all communicated via text?
Yes. It was her. The communication started on social media. A close friend of mine started a GoFundMe for me and my children to cover the expenses of moving to Texas. And she found that and reached out to me on social media and was just congratulating and saying that, she was happy and then that me and the kids need to get as far away from this situation as possible.
Were you there, or did you go with the officer for the welfare check on that Friday the 16th?
No.
Did the officer communicate with you later about what she saw and observed on the 16th?
Yes.
And what she saw and observed as well on the 17th, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
And was that accurate, that description, what she told you on the 16th and 17th, was that accurate from her testimony here today?
Yes.
Now, when you picked the children up, did you ask Mrs. Valdez about what had transpired that weekend with Mr. Wilden and the children?
Yes, I did eventually. The first thing I noticed is my son's hair was cut and he had designs on the side of his head, which wasn't a big fan of because it's against the dress code of the school he goes to now, as well as the public school. I've registered him in Texas. But without even, as soon as the kids walked in the door, shut the door, my son said, "Christopher Draper cut my hair." And so I immediately walked outside, asked Leah, I'm like, "Hey, was your boyfriend around the kids?" And she said, yes. I said, do you not realize that you're in contempt of court by doing that? And her words, I believe, was, "I don't give a shit." She's like, no judge is going to send me to jail. So, a mother to jail. So, there's nothing, go take me to court. You can use that GoFundMe money to take me to court. Kind of just throwing it in my face, about everything.
If I could, Judge, I would like to plug in. And did you record some of that?
I did.
Some of that discussion?
Yes.
I want to play a recording for you and ask you if you recognize this as that recording.
This is audio only?
Audio only, yes, sir. Let's see, I'm not 100%.
Mommy, I mean, Daddy, Christopher Draper gave me this haircut.
I want to talk to you about that. Hey. First thing, whoever says when I walk in the house is Christopher Draper gave me that haircut.
Yeah, he did.
So you're just gonna violate the court orders?
I mean, honestly, Vince, I don't really give a shit. You're going to Texas and he's gonna be in our lives one way or another.
Yeah, but you wrote for a year, Leanne.
Huh?
You wrote that you wouldn't be around him for a
Well, then
year.
lawyer up, take him back to court, but you're going back to Texas and it's gonna be very expensive for you and that GoFundMe's all gonna go towards that.
You realize that means like jail time for you, right?
If the judge deems that, you can push for that, just like you did months ago, but the judge still has to sign off on that. And no judge is gonna put a mom in jail because she's letting her kids around her future husband.
I'll see you in court then.
All right, bye.
Woo. I just want to say that's a woman who is checked out.
She has.
She doesn't sound the same. She sounds like she's sitting on the couch in a shabby, like, trailer with a cigarette in her hand. I mean, she sounds like a completely different human being.
She is a different human being at that point.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, she's no longer married. She's cohabitating with an ex-con. Her business is in the toilet. She's lost control of that.
Yeah.
So she's literally not the same person. She has earlier in this video, we missed, but it really just supports everything as far as like what's been going on. She testified. So the judge warned her. He said, you know, some of this is criminal, but if you don't want to answer the question, you can plead the fifth. And she didn't. And then we're going to go to the judge's judgment now.
Yeah, but I want to talk about what we're just.
Oh,
what we
okay.
just
Yeah,
saw.
yeah.
I mean, a lot of guys, when we'll be talking about, you know, how you know when your wife is kind of checked out, how you know when your girlfriend's already kind of like out of the relationship. This is the kind of sound that sound that woman was making, where she's flat.
Yeah.
She's kind of resigned. She's just kind of nothing. There's nothing there. It's not love. It's not hate. It's complete neutrality, which is as harsh as you can get, I think, when you have a love relationship, you know, because hate can be turned around. Hate can be passionate.
Yeah.
People use hate all the time to fuel their love for one another. But just resignation and just that the sound of her voice is what men will get, even in situations that are not this extreme, whenever the woman has checked out of a marriage, or usually a marriage, but a relationship. So if you were listening to that, or if you weren't, go back, because that she's just like, I don't give a fuck. She's
checked
done.
out. And your visual, she's just going to be dead-eyed.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, think of like a shark. There's no facial expression, and sometimes it can be mistaken for like SSRIs. You know, there'll just be a flat effect, but you can really, like Bunny says, hear it in the voice.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
There's nothing. I can't think of anything to add to that.
Yeah.
I mean, you can. That's why I bring Bunny in, because she's catching things I wouldn't catch.
Did you want to go back to the mother-in-law?
The mother.
Mother?
No.
Okay.
It's just this. Then we'll jump to the judge's conclusion.
Woo! And where is that?
4:15, sister. 4:15.
Judge drops the hammer.
Any questions on the order of protection that you wish to ask this witness?
No, sir, I do not.
All right, thank you. Step down, sir. All right, we've concluded all of the evidence in the case, Mr. Hawley.
Judge, the only thing I have is, if you have any question at all about the business being an issue, the franchise owner is here to describe how the business went.
Well, we're going to deal with the last thing first. I'm not going to extend this order of protection because I don't think that the proof has substantiated a grounds for showing that Mr. Valdez is the person who has created a situation where that Mrs. Valdez is a victim of domestic abuse, which is required in an order of protection. However, to satisfy, and not satisfy, but to ensure that there's not any problems, what we will do is just put an order down that neither of these parties will stalk the other, neither of them will follow the other or have others do so on their behalf. And that way he can't have someone else follow you, spy on you, or do any such thing as that. And that will give you hopefully at least the satisfaction of knowing there is a court order down, and if it's violated, it will be dealt with. Second issue is about the order order which was issued, a restraining order that was issued, and court is very leery of issuing orders that on an ex parte, which means without a hearing, to suspend court order visitation. In this particular case, I would remind everyone involved that there was a hearing and there was testimony, even by Mr. Wilding or Wilding, who testified before the court, and the court formed my own opinions about his character and veracity and whether or not he was a good influence or a bad influence on minor children. And for that reason, the court put an order down that he was to have no contact with the minor children. Then while that case has been pending, but I left, I think, if I recall correctly, an equal residential schedule with the children for both of them. While that case was pending, the parties went to mediation, and as a result of that mediation, for whatever reason, they agreed upon a final decree of divorce and a parenting plan that designated Mr. Valdez as the primary residential parent for the minor children and gave Mrs. Valdez visitation with the minor children on a period of 275 days with the father, 90 days with the mother. And it went on to say that the mother would have visitation, would have summer and holiday visitation and other visitations in Section J if the father relocates to Texas. Then it goes on to say, and I don't know who printed this off, but I started to tell them not to allow it to be filed because it's printed on every other, on the back side of the pages. So as a result, the court then, or the parties agreed upon some holiday visitation and so forth. And if I recall correctly, and I'm trying to find the day-to-day schedule if he didn't move. In any event, one of the reasons we don't print on both sides of the page.
Yeah.
I did the order and I sent it to Ms. Tees, and I don't think she's familiar with the court's single page.
I was looking for it, and it's in Section J on page 3, other, and it says the father is allowed to relocate to Texas with the party's minor children. 2, until such time as the father relocates to Texas, the mother shall have every other weekend from Friday at 6 to Sunday at 6. And on alternate week, the mother shall have Wednesday after school until Thursday morning, returning to school, and this shall terminate if the father relocates to Texas. Then paragraph 3, the mother shall not allow, shall not allow the minor children to have contact with Christopher Ryan Wilding, also known as Christopher Draper, the mother's paramour, and Mr. Wilden will not be present on the residence premises of the mother during her visitation with the minor children. Neither party shall consume alcohol in excess. The mother shall not consume any illegal drugs or herbs that might be considered to be illegal. Number 6, the mother shall have the right to file a petition with the court seeking the removal or modification of the restriction relating to Christopher Ryan Wilden's, also known as Christopher Draper's, contact with the minor children, subsequent to the expiration of 12 months from the entry of the final decree of divorce. In order for this restriction to be modified, the mother must prove a material change of circumstances, and the issue of Mr. Wilden's background shall not be res judicata. Well, as was pointed out, those were terms that were agreed to, for whatever reason, by Ms. Valdez. I didn't put those in there. She and Mr. Valdez put them in there. And so once I signed that final decree, which was signed by the court on February the 15th of 2023, And I'll be honest with you, I didn't even realize, I have stacks of orders that I'm presented with. I didn't make the connection between signing this final decree and that case, in this case. But in any event, I signed the final decree and it became a court order effective that day. Court orders are not orders that a person can decide they don't want to violate, that they want to violate, and simply because they don't want to do what the court order says. One thing that I will simply, this is not the order for the motion for contempt, but I'm concerned, Ms. Valdez, that you do not understand the gravity of your situation. You made a statement, and I wrote it down because it's going to come back to haunt you. You still don't regret violating the court's order. That is part of what will happen at the sentencing hearing. Mr. Holly is going to replay that over and over again, because one of the factors that the court will have to decide as to whether, how much time to give you and what punishment to impose is your attitude regarding whether or not you show any remorse over violating a court order. In addition to that, it also causes the court to question whether you ever intend to violate whether you intend to comply with the court's orders in the future. So every time that you violated a court order, and I counted 3 or 4 times minimum, is 10 days in jail. There is a specific statute that allows for consecutive sentencing that in certain cases, one of those is whether it's a violation of the domestic custody order. So you are facing jail time. And I heard your voice say on that no judge is going to put a mom in jail. You are wrong. I've put women in jail before. I've sentenced women to life in prison for a murder. It doesn't bother me. I mean, it does bother me. I don't like to do it. But when you come back for the sentencing in this case, you can expect you're going to go to jail for some period of time. And that may be 10 days. That may be 40 days. That may be 50 or 60 days. That depends on what the situation is and what your attitude has been then. But it was, in my opinion, a terrible, and I tried to give you, that's the thing I don't understand. I tried to give you the leeway to not implicate yourself with such testimony. I tried to allow you the leeway to say, I don't want to have to testify if I might implicate myself. But all you've done, I don't know if you think you're smart enough that you can talk your way out of it, or if you think the reasons you give are compelling enough, but they aren't, and you aren't. And as a result of that, you are now facing an extended period of jail time. And Mr. Wilpin may come to visit you in jail, I suppose, when that sentencing comes around. But it's pretty much a foregone conclusion now on this motion for contempt as to what the court's finding is going to be as to whether or not you willfully divide. That's the other thing. I have to find you in willful contempt. That means you willfully violated a court order. Well, you pretty well solved that issue for me too, because when this case comes back before me, you've already told me you willfully defied a court order and you don't regret doing it. So it is an unfortunate situation that you find yourself in. The hearing that I have today is only about the issue of a restraining order, and based on what I've found that you have willfully violated a court's order that you agreed to, and that you are showing no indication of remorse or that you even think that was a bad decision on your part to violate that court order that number of times, I have no choice but to continue this order of restraining and suspending the visitation schedule that was previously imposed. She will have supervised visitation at such times and places as she and Mr. Valdez can agree. Other than that, her visitation is suspended pending the hearing on the motion for contempt. I would strongly urge you to get counsel to represent you, and I would strongly urge you to comply with everything that this court has put in an order before, because you are not free to deviate from a court order under any circumstances. So.
May I ask 2 questions, please, Your Honor? First, when is the...
To trying to figure out who can be the supervisor to watch, her. And usually it would be like her mother, but even her mother can't be in the room with her. They're estranged at this point.
Wow.
So this woman went from, in roughly 60 days, from married with 3 children.
Yeah.
And a stay-at-home, homeschooling mom to she's going to jail.
Yeah, that's what I think that's what's so fascinating to me, and something that why I was saying that this is truly like girl brain in the worst case scenario, at its absolute worst, because she went from a happily married stay-at-home mom who worked side businesses, essentially, no different than if she had a Tupperware business or
no, it's the same.
Any of these kinds of businesses, something on the side to make her feel like she was contributing to the family income, that she was a productive member of the family, and raising and homeschooling their children. To now, she met a felon. She fell for him. He in doing so completely exploded her world, her husband's world, her children's worlds, and now she's going to spend roughly 2 months likely in jail. She's going to only be allowed to see her children under supervised circumstances.
It's ridiculous.
And I would lay money. I don't know when the dates are on this trial, but I would lay money on all of this is going to happen. That felon is not going to still be around. They are going to break up.
That was that was one of the first comments in there. Is like, he'll be gone by the time she's out of jail.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting. Women know women, and they know these bad boys.
Yeah.
Because he's not going to sit around waiting for her to come out of jail.
Yeah.
It's
not to mention she doesn't have the money anymore.
Nope.
The excitement once the thrill of the affair and all of this stuff dies down, she's just got a man who only cares about, what did you say, he's a plumber or an electrician? Barber. Who only cares about, doing his little job and coming home and drinking beer and getting together with the boys and riding his motorcycle.
And getting high.
And what's interesting is in the felon's first testimony, it's like marijuana, paraphernalia, Well, it was also methamphetamine. It was also the big boys. It wasn't just a little recreational use of pot.
Right.
That he tried to make it sound like. I mean, this guy, whether he's clean or not, you can look at him and see that he's not living the lifestyle that he likely was before he got into drugs and things.
No.
Not in the way that his parents raised him.
No. And that's a good point, because felons, those convicts, they can spot each other in a crowd, and they go, they know.
But I mean, this woman's apple has fallen so far from the tree at this point that her own family doesn't support her any longer. She doesn't have any friends left because no one's saying, yes, go hang out with Leah. She really needs you. No. None of these friends that they had are supporting them any longer.
No, because a fundamentalist group tends to socialize with other families that come from a similar religious background. There's no husband is signing off on his wife helping her out.
No.
You can't.
No.
You can't. Because, again, and this is a good example, we always tell guys, don't worry about the girl's beliefs, her hobbies, literally how she thinks, because she'll start picking up the beliefs, habits, and hobbies of the man that she's having sex with.
Right.
Just as this girl has picked up the habits, hobbies, and lifestyle of the guy she's having sex with.
Right.
And now she's going to go to jail.
And I will be willing to bet also that she'll not only do one stint in jail, this road that she's projected herself onto, with full force, will just continue to get her in trouble.
It's truly insane.
I could see her being homeless someday. I could see her, just making all kinds of really detrimental decisions. And I think the smartest thing that this dad did was go ahead and move out of state because then there's limited contact with the mom. So those kids don't have to see, those children have gone from being homeschooled and being 100% surrounded by family and truly loving friends every moment of every day of their lives to being thrust into public school, now to being moved. There's courtroom drama. They're watching their mother completely change into a new person, like not in a good way. And the struggle that their parents are going through. I mean, these kids have gone through it, and they're little, but but the best thing that dad could have done was move back to Texas, be surrounded by family. You know, we always say that family is such a huge indicator of success of a family and a marriage.
If you have a good family.
Yeah.
If you have good family support.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. And again, proximity. I mean, even, you know, it's one thing if you live in the same neighborhood as your ex, you're going to see them a lot.
Yeah.
But you move a few states away, and unfortunately, these children may not see their mother again. It may not be a bad thing for them to not see her hit the drain.
Yeah, because just because the court order says that she can have them for an entire month or whatever, doesn't mean she'll be able to afford to have them for the ordered time.
And like Bunny says, will she even have a homestead?
Yeah.
You know, a place to bring them.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And it's a lot in a short amount of time. And this is like every man's nightmare.
Yeah.
You know, so this is what it looks like. And there's a lot of things that kind of had to happen by chance.
Yeah.
And she had to really roll with it, you know, and embrace it.
That was all the video, right?
That's it.
I mean, and a lot of you have been like, how do we prevent this? How do we keep this from happening? Well, first of all, no matter what your religious beliefs are, no matter what your family upbringing, your lifestyle are like, I suggest always date your wife. Keep your relationship at the forefront of your marriage. You know, it's so easy to kind of get caught up in helping others, supporting your parents, you know, prioritizing the kids, their activities, their passions,
the kids
things that they have to do and places that they have to be, and letting your relationship with one another fall to the wayside. And that is a detrimental thing, because she needs to be thrilled by you, whether you've been married for 2 years or whether you've been married for 32.
But he's good about reigniting the 20 and 30-year marriages. That's good. I don't have anything to add. I thought this was so self-explanatory, and we kind of front-loaded it.
Yeah.
And Bunny being able to see these things with a female mind, which is very important, gives us insight into how this plays out. It's very interesting. Man. And we appreciate you spending an hour.
An hour and a half.
We knew it was going to go long. I mean, it was 4.5 hours of testimony.
Yeah.
But we hope you have gained something from this, something positive. It's not meant to be a scare tactic or, you know, but it's what's possible and what happens in worst case scenarios. And there's so much of the red pill and our world that's viewable in this.
Right.
You know,
1,000%.
That it would have been wrong for us to not put it in front of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
I think it's just a really good reminder as to why you have to, the things that we talk about attraction, about maintaining your frame, about, you know, just staying as the, what's the
focus.
Yeah, the focus of the relationship on, you know, the manly desires, the manly needs, but staying as the man of the household is so critical in just keeping stories like this from happening.
It's not going to, this is going to end, this is going to get worse.
Yeah.
You know, but he's going to get out of the proximity.
And he will likely, Vincent will likely get married very soon to a good Christian girl who will essentially kind of, they'll work either consciously or unconsciously to pick up essentially where Leah went off track.
Yeah, and in a couple of years, he'll have a hell of a story to tell.
Yeah.
But right now, it's not a pleasant experience.
Yeah.
For anyone. I think he's handling it much better than anyone I could have imagined.
Yeah.
You know, so
At least she didn't have the foresight to record anything detrimental that he might have said.
No.
Because I'm sure he has said his share of things that could have been lifted up in court.
Sure.
But
sure.
there's no proof of it.
No. And it's such a 180 for her personality that I'm sure he's in shock.
Well, even the cussing thing. I mean,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And the sexual, I mean, just there's so many things about it that's, and Fort Worth and I talk about this too, even with his ex-wife, I say, this is not the woman that you married. She's not anywhere, their situations are not similar. No. But at the same time, they've been separated, they've been divorced for 13 years. She's not the same human being that you were married to, that you raised children with, that you know.
Which is my default setting.
Yeah, think that you're still dealing with the 32-year-old version, and
Exactly.
it's just not the case. I think the judge made a good point of that too, that people do change, but this is pretty drastic. I will say, I thought that judge did a really great job of attempting to be fair to her.
Oh yeah.
I thought he really tried.
Yeah.
He gave her some benefit.
He gave her enough rope, and
She
then
just
she
caught
decided
herself.
what she wanted to do with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. He had no choice.
Woo! I want to encourage you to go to this video, and watch it yourself if you'd like to see every detail. You'll probably pick up on some things that we didn't see or that we didn't catch on. I mean, there's a lot to unpack here, and it's just an excellent example as to why you need to be in kind of this neighborhood that we run in, so that this kind of stuff hopefully doesn't happen to you.
That's the idea. I mean, I hate to say this, I always go back to if he had been monitoring her phone at some point,
Yeah.
maybe he could have caught this. And that's not the key, make no mistake. But it was one of my first things that crossed my mind but coming from his background, he has no impetus, no idea. It would not cross his mind. And up until this point, in their 13 years together, he would have never had any reason to check her phone.
Yeah.
But that would have stopped this in its tracks. And if she knew he was checking her phone, she would have probably not had the wherewithal to work around it. She would have just said, I probably should not text this man that I met.
I think there's a fine line between being comfortable in a relationship to where you feel like you can share things, you feel like you can be, some version of real with your partner, where you feel like that person is home, to being so comfortable that you just assume that everything is safe and happy and hunky-dory, and you don't have to continue to monitor things or keep things in checks and balances. And I see more relationships failing because they don't keep some sort of checks and balances in their relationship. And that's exactly like what you're saying.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Yeah.
You never know. I mean, you can't be paranoid, but you should be aware, at least in our world.
Yeah.
That's the real deal.
Yeah. Good.
We appreciate you guys coming. Bunny, as always, if you like what you've seen, Bunny has resources out the yin yang at myplayboysbunny.gumroad.com or fortworthplayboy.gumroad.com.
Yes.
And we'll add those. And we appreciate whoever has stuck it out. We
And
really
a lot of
appreciate
you
it.
have. And thank you for saying this is awesome.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys being here. And I'll be back at 7 a.m. It won't be this interesting, but Bunny and I shall be back here every Thursday at 7 a.m. God willing. That's how we're going to do it. It's been a crazy fall. No, it's been a crazy spring. It's going to be a busy summer.
Yeah.
And we wish you
in
guys
all the best ways.
Yep. Have a great day.
Bye.